Thank you very much. Hello, good afternoon, and nice to meet you to everyone. My name is Clement. I'm the VP Sales Marketing for Ubees, and we are very happy to be here today to be able to bring a different complementary topic, which is about nature-based solution around bees and beekeeping. As you already know, climate change is creating more and more pressure on our global food supply chains. The global food brands are becoming extremely vocal about the consequences and how this is impacting their way to source crops, foods, in order to bring it to us today. I've put here a recent interesting campaign launched by Nespresso, where they articulated a very famous brand ambassador around an empty cup of coffee. So the coffee is at threat, and as the head of sustainability of Nespresso mentioning that half of their lands producing coffee could be unviable by 2050. So there is a huge urge to be able to transfer some traditional conventional agriculture into regenerative agriculture practices. And this is where Ubees intervene. We believe that data-driven beekeeping is key to contribute to regenerative agriculture practices in order to sustain the global food supply chain. Here is a way we do provide and contribute to our clients, farmers, growers, global food brands in addressing their sustainable agenda. We do it through pollination services, which is bringing capabilities to pollinate their crops. We have developed a technology that I have here, which is a small sensor that I'll get back to on, which is enabling us to track data from the hives on the health and the performance of the bees. We also learn from the bees. Bees are flying around and bringing back to the hives a lot of information about the biodiversity. And we are also involved in improving small farmers' livelihoods through living income projects. We come from the pollination services in the US, where we are addressing 30,000 hives to growers and farmers in the US, especially almond growers in California, but also berries, cherries, apples in upstate New York, where they rent hives and pollination capabilities in order to do the proper pollination and to grow their crops. The technologies that I've shown to you, and I'm going to show you again, is a very non-intrusive small sensors that we position in the middle of the hives in between the two boxes. This sensors is made of five sensors capturing the temperature of the hives. The bees are thermoregulating the environment, so based on the temperature, we know how strong the colony is. On top, so this is the application that we have developed in order to be able to push the data that we collect from the sensors, which is given some very important information. One term in beekeeping which is key, which is the frames of bees. So we count the number of frames within the hives that have been colonized by the bees. And it gives us a lot of information on how strong it is. For you to understand, when we rent hives to almond growers, this is contractual that we have to deliver hives at 8 frames of bees, meaning there is enough foragers to be able to go out there and to pollinate the flowers. We also, thanks to the algorithms that we have developed in-house, to be able to estimate the number of flight hours by the bees, but also the estimated number of flowers that have been pollinated around. This application has been developed as well for us to be able to do digital mapping and optimize positioning within the orchard and the field for our farmers to be able to optimize their investment and to optimize the pollination on their crops. This is the overall landscape of technology from the IoT sensors that I've shown to you, and our two applications for the usage of farmers, beekeepers, and our operational teams as well. Environment monitoring capabilities. As I was mentioning, the bees are flying all around the orchard and the field in the radius of between 400 meters to 2 kilometers. When they come back to the hives, they bring a lot of information. So we extract some of the bees and the pollen, and we analyze them with an independent lab. This enables us to be able to give a very precise mapping of the pollen diversity, chemical exposures, as well as the water quality in the environment. So it's a very key, let's say, agent of biosurveillance in order to map the environment and to have indicators and metrics on the biodiversity. Living income. So how is beekeeping impacting positively the lives of small farmers around the world? This is a practice that is very popular since a very long time, to be able to help individuals to gain some independency, autonomy through investing on some hives, selling the honey. But what we can do is to be able to increase the reach and multiply those initiatives. And we do it in order to be able to impact on those three areas: on the environment, on the social aspect of it, and the economical aspect of it. And this is what we have started to do 2 years ago with Nespresso. We got in touch with them and they say, what could we do between the bees and the coffee? The coffee Arabica does not need the bees to be able to produce coffee, but when you bring on more pollinators, this is boosting the yield, while the Robusta is requiring pollination. So there is still a strong bond between coffee and the bees. So what we've done is that we've worked with small coffee farmers in Colombia, in the Caldas region. It's about 2 hectares average a farm, and we have put 15 hives per farms. We have trained them thanks to the technology. We were providing them information to maintain and to understand how the hives were evolving, and we have master beekeepers in order to visit them regularly in order to help them grow their competency. Once they were producing out of the hives, we could see that they were boosting their revenue by 30 to 40%. So how is that possible? You produce honey that you're going to sell. In Colombia, they import 70% of the honey for the local consumption, so there is a local demand in terms of honey. We have also split, meaning the colony is evolving and growing, and at some point you have a surplus, and the surplus of bees can be sold to be able to create an additional revenue. Then you have pollination services. Based on what we do in the US, we have brought as well that type of practice in order to rent the hives from the coffee farmers to the avocado growers, which are in the next village, in the next finca. So we're working with Chipotle and Cartama, avocado producers in Colombia, and we try to create commercial relationship in between the 2 crops and growers so it can create more revenue. And as I've put here, this is so far excluding the coffee yield, which is estimated to be a 10% increase. And one thing to mention also is that recently in Latin America, we've seen La Niña, so more rain than usual, and there was a decrease in the productivity of coffee. The farms having bees were more resilient towards those challenges than the others. So we were, as I was saying, using the technology to bring that knowledge for those farmers who have a smartphone, but also to our master beekeepers to be able to be more efficient in managing and coaching the farmers to become beekeepers. One thing to mention, we are just trying to turn the farmers back to what they were used to do in the past. They were having bees, should it be in Europe, should it be in Latin America. So we want them to get back into beekeeping, which is a good complement and a very equilibrium initiative for them. Interesting as well is how beekeeping is creating a positive effect on women empowerment. So we have so far observed, this is not yet covered by a quantified framework, but we have observed that women, as part of the family households, are much more involved in the beekeeping than they are on the usual crop that the family is growing. And there is also a much more efficiency from women to conduct more precise tasks such as queen raising or royal jelly. So it's a very natural, complementary split of commitment and engagement. And personally, in our project, we've got 30% of female beekeepers on the field in Colombia. So this is Ubees, created back in 2016 in Europe as well as in the US. We have extended our work from pollination services to the growers in the US, to the work we're doing with the global brands and contribute to their sustainable agenda. We have grown the team from few to 30 people among those 3 countries, and we are happy to be here in Asia. For me, it's being back home. I've been living here for 6 years, and my kids were born here, so I'm very happy to be back in order to grow opportunities in Southeast Asia, in Asia, where bees are also very much present. Should it be for almonds in Australia? Should it be for kiwis in New Zealand, avocado in the Philippines, coffee in Vietnam? So there is a lot of crops and bees around, so we want to grow and to develop partnerships. Thank you very much, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.